Good day to all. It is September 3rd, 2021. This is the third in a series examining humanity's current situation on planet Earth from the book Becoming, chapters 2 and 3. The days ahead do not look bright for those of you in the USA. The dark plans appear to be coagulating into form as they have planned. The light workers are the focus of God, as you have chosen to name the outplay of creative energies that bring into being galaxies, solar systems, planets, and individualized awareness to acknowledge and experience these manifestations. These now begin their work in earnest. Indeed, each individual awareness has within itself that creative energy that is theirs to acknowledge and to know personally. It is the focus of that subtly powerful energy that is who each really is. It appears to be apart from the personality/ego that is capable of comprehending the understanding of the concept of it. It is the becoming of this apparently larger-than-life beingness that is the difficult accomplishment. Yet, there is no other God. That which each is in the larger reality is the only doorway to understanding the concept of what is called God. God is not a focus of personality, individual thought processes, or a benevolent creator separate from you. God is the combination of the focus of all its parts coalesced into the composite of all. Each awareness is blocked from being a part of that composite until it realizes that it is a part of this composite. Being told that it is means nothing at all. It is the realization that one's self is a viable part of that composite that encompasses the totality of the being. That is what becoming is all about. One must become that reality and realize it is a viable aspect of the totality of God, and that its input to that reality is the truth of who they are. It is not a mental realization, but one that registers total agreement within the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual levels of the total self. In other words, the spiritual aspect that focuses each into manifested reality finally gets the message through to the rest of its focus that is walking around in the body. The body must register this understanding through the totality of its brain nervous system, resulting in what is called a realization that then registers as a sudden feeling sensation accompanied by an all-encompassing understanding. It allows for a total change in perception with regard to the self and how this self fits into the composite picture of experience. This results in a change in the perception of God, which suddenly allows for an understanding that God equates to the cosmic/galactic citizenship rather than a father-child relationship. It is a shift from being or experiencing as powerless to the awesome responsibility of being a contributing portion to the totality of what constitutes God, or the creative energy of potentiality, being focused into experience in order that it can be defined and understood. The pivotal point in which this change takes place is not a shift from negative to positive. It is rather an uplifting to a new point in the spiral of experience that allows for a greater understanding and ability to utilize the positive/negative energies that are part and parcel of the outflow of creative energies in the individual and collective foci that result in the larger matrix or design of the whole pattern of the galaxy. It is easier to grasp the larger picture of this description than to define it at the level of each individual awareness. Each being comes to the point of their own realization in unique ways and by unique combinations of experience and wisdom. The point is often approached and rejected many times before the actual crossover acceptance happens. It requires a great deal of courage to cross over to a new and different perspective of the life experience. It requires releasing well-learned lessons and entering into a completely new consciousness of what reality truly is. For those who are on the planet Earth now, the deceptions are of such magnitude and the truth of what each being is so well hidden that the acceptance of the truth by the masses is such a gigantic leap in consciousness, it appears to be impossible that it could possibly happen. Yet happen it must if this segment of the human race and this jewel of a planet are to survive. When viewed from the larger perspective, the deceptions as perpetrated on the human race of this planet are so totally illogical that it's quite amazing that so few humans have figured out the truth. Granted, many, when they are first introduced to the possibility that they have been deceived, immediately resonate with the idea and begin to contemplate its possibility and arrive at the truth of its probability. However, those that cling to the deceptions with tenacity are in the overwhelming majority. It is therefore to be anticipated that much chaos will be experienced before a mathematical coefficient of beings make the realization or change of consciousness is reached to bring about a shift in the future experience of this planet. It is then to be anticipated that the planet itself may or may not be able to survive the abuse that is being loosed upon it. To enable more help from the galactic community to assist in this situation, a large number of responsible Earth citizens must request this help to save the planet first and the citizenry second. The requests now are being made more on a personal salvation basis than from the larger picture, which automatically includes the personal aspect. This is that we offer these concepts for consideration of those who choose to read and to accept them as suggestions worth considering and acting upon. Our concern is that the composite concept of God that each awareness is entitled to contribute to as a realized consciousness become the next focus of concern for those awake and aware humans awaiting the next step of their assignment. In the final accounting, it is the transition of consciousness into citizenship responsibility that is the goal. All else comes as a result of that choice. It was once offered as a part of the experience of bringing the US of A into being. But the consciousness of the individual people was not at a point that the goals could be maintained. Instead, the exploiting of resources through greed was greater than the commitment to soul agendas. Thus, these energies were allowed to be played out for the lessons to be learned. It is yet to be seen if these lessons will be discerned and brought into wisdom by a sufficient number to salvage this planet. Choices must be made to place the whole as equal to the individual in the consideration of the desired result. Those asked to give their lives for the purpose of defending their country or placing the ideals of their leaders above those of others attacking them have allowed the illusion of a whole as being more important than the individual. It is a supreme sacrifice. When the whole and the individual consideration have equal weight, then war is not an option unless imbalance is acted out as an attack. Then all other options are considered before a defense is appropriate. When there is balance, there is progress. It is to be remembered that the play of positive and negative energies bring forth the spiral of progress. However, the extremes of both bring forth regression or loss of upward process. Another ingredient that must be taken into account within the context of war is the familiar consideration of the victim consciousness. It is to be remembered that the law of attraction causes the victim to draw to its experience those who have a like consciousness but are on the other side, like two sides of a coin. Those who feel abused draw to them those who will provide more of that experience until that attitude is shed. Thus, war serves its purpose through forcing the victims to come together and experience the power of throwing off the aggressor. When either the empowerment is retained, or the former victims return to one side or the other of the victim experience. Thus, trading of sides continues until a realization is made that allows for transcending this experience. It is this outplay in the extreme that is upon the planet now. It is understanding of this situation from its larger perspective that will allow those who are about assisting the planet and its inhabitants to move through these experiences and continue their chosen work. The experience for those involved cannot be changed for them. The consciousness within each involved group must shift and move both individually and collectively. The consciousness of the group that each leader represents will affect that leader's decisions. No amount of outside influence on that leader will change that, and the only control that can be used is to replace that leader, usually through assassination. In that way, the process can be slowed or changed by the chaos that accompanies the change in leadership, usually by tricking the group into believing the death of their leader was perpetrated by the other side. In this case, discernment is the key, and it is the one time that the observer group may be able to influence the outcome by circulating the truth. Through the comprehension of the larger picture, it is within possibility that those who have volunteered to assist the God focus can realize that their participation is a key to the transition of this planet and its inhabitants into a greater experience of manifested life. As taught by the religions at this time, personal power is transferred to and through an unknowable power and governmental bureaucracy. Both of these entities have been created for the purpose of enslavement. The problem of education of the masses then presents itself. It is to be remembered that it is the first few who are awakened and make the realization of this hoax that are the most difficult to convince of this reality. Thus, these precious few are to be valued, and the education process continued, for the process will become easier as the numbers increase. Though it seems but a pitiful few in view of the billions of beings that constitutes the mass consciousness of the planet, it must be remembered that it took the opposition literally eons of time to reach the current control level. A change in the understanding that they have slowly and carefully nurtured can be accomplished in a very, very short time because they defy logic. The mind of conscious beings constantly searches for logic in order that each may stay positioned within the linear perception of time and life experience. Illogic is a form of chaos, and to assimilate illogic into a logical sequence requires a great deal of concentration. It is one of the reasons that rest or recreation away from this process is craved. Once illogical ideas are identified, then the sequential thought process reprograms itself, rather like a computer changing its internal arrangement of data to a more efficient combination of sequences. When illogic is perceived and the rearrangement of data takes place, then other illogical data is identified, and the search is on to further identify any illogical data present and to eliminate it also. Through this process, great change in the mass consciousness can be accomplished. That brings us to conclusion. Love on.